Good morning everybody, this is dear Mama Sal, and it's raining as you can hear. It is 8 degrees here in Canada, southern British Columbia, which would make it 47 degrees equivalent in the States. So it's getting down there, as they say, and I apologize for the noisy windshield wipers. Those of you who are regular viewers know it goes with the territory. It's been a really interesting weekend. The word for today is going to be update, because I try and do that on a Monday, is give you an update on all that's been going on. I didn't feel that I achieved a great deal, to be honest, other than really pace myself fairly well for the things that I normally do. So on Friday we did a couple of great broadcasts. I really must admit the broadcasts were a lot of fun this weekend, and I definitely laughed a lot, and I think a lot of other people did as well. And we did some pretty interesting stuff with some people who needed a quick readjustment, which is part of what we do. So thank you all so much for that. By the time we got to Halloween, well, what can I say? I had a combination of way too much chocolate, which was wonderful, and a couple of Bailey's milkshakes went down quite well as well. So it, what can I say? Just even thinking about that still makes me laugh. So my thanks go to Alice, Leah and Liz, who all dressed up, and I'm not quite sure who else dressed up but didn't go on camera. But I really thank them for doing that, because it was very entertaining, and I just I would have looked so stupid being the only one, and as it was, I mean, I just put a wig on. And so it was great fun, and I know a lot of people laughed a lot. And you know, it just, every now and then you got to do something where you laugh at yourself. I personally thought I had looked less ugly in my time, but never mind. The other thing was, I got to open up my mystery present. Somebody had sent me a present from Singapore, and I had no idea what it was or from whom did it come. And over the course of the weekend, I managed to find out both. First of all, it was the cutest little umbrella. And it fits into a sort of solid sleeve. And the solid sleeve looks like a little Japanese doll. So it was really so cute. Actually, I can show you. Look at that. Isn't that the cutest thing? And the reason it was sent was because of how many times did I get in the car without my raincoat. Well, how kind is that? I mean, so it gets to stay now in my purse. I've got one of those bigger size purses, and I can never say that again. I didn't bring my umbrella either. So thank you so much, Carly. It was Carly from Singapore who sent it to me, and I quite honestly, until that moment, didn't know that that's where Carly lived. Carly's been commenting on the vlogs for the longest time, and I don't know why. I always thought she was in North America, which goes to show, what do I know? So really, really so cute, and I hope, Carly, that you enjoyed the live unveiling. That's why I like to do those on camera, because otherwise you don't get to see the fun of it for me. And I'm pretty sure that the fun of it from my side must make it fun for you. I hope so, anyway. And then I had an interesting comment from a viewer who basically was telling me that they don't like to watch my car videos because of the they get seasick watching it. Unfortunately, I cannot flatten the roads in British Columbia, and so it'll always feel like it's going a bit up and down because the roads are bumpy. And what I said to her was that a lot of people actually don't watch my videos. They put them on and listen to them because it's the content that really they're after, and not necessarily the visual, because the visual is just me driving my car. So for those of you who find the same thing, turn the camera, turn your picture away from you and just listen if you would like to. So, and then some of you will have heard that the previous week we had a big storm and part of my cherry tree came down. But it only came down far enough. Sorry, there is just the cutest little tot about to cross the road with his umbrella. And he's got a camouflage umbrella, which is about the last thing I would give a tot for an umbrella. I think I'd given a little toddler a yellow one rather than a camouflage one, but that's just my personal view. Anyway, really, really cute. Where was I? Oh yeah, cherry tree. So anyway, this cherry tree, the main branch split. So we had to find a way this weekend to get it down, which we did with great help from my neighbor. And it turns out that my neighbor used to be a landscape gardener, and amongst his many, many tools that he owns, and I have a few myself, but he had a lot. Amongst the tools that he owns was a dirty great chainsaw on a long pole, as opposed to just to send somebody up with a chainsaw. And I think a chainsaw on a long pole is a lot safer than somebody up there trying to manhandle a chainsaw. So I was very pleased that he offered to help us with that, which he did. And especially as the tree crosses his boundary, and he'd been dying to cut it anyway. And so he sort of I tell you, that river's really high. Wow. Anyway, so he'd been sort of trying to quietly and politely say to me that he would quite like to trim that tree quite a bit more. And I looked at him and I said, be my guest, play away. No, and shape it. Yeah, that would be good. Ask me if I care. If it needs hacking, hack it. And he said, are you sure? And I said, of course I'm sure. But he said, on your side too? I said, well, yeah, it's going to look really stupid if you hack it only on one side. And so, anyway, he did. He has started to do that. I said, feel free for any of my trees. Just go ahead and give it a haircut if you think it needs it. Anyway, so we went off and we bought him a couple of beers and thanked him very profusely, which was awesome. Now, the other thing I did this weekend, which was really fun to do, it's been a long time since I cooked a ham. And I, yet again, got a spiral cut ham. And for those of you who don't know what that is, that's a ham that's already carved. But it's carved, but still on the bone. So you still cook it on the bone, but it's actually carved. So it's just brilliant. I don't know who came up with that for an idea. And the broadcast peeps told me that I needed to defrost it in because I had it frozen, to defrost it in the fridge overnight, which I did. And it still was actually remarkably frozen the next morning. I mean, I guess the major deep frost of it had lessened, but it still was cold. I mean, it definitely was still frozen. Anyway, so I put it in the oven at a sort of lower temperature a lot of water lying around this morning, at a lower temperature for slightly longer, so that it could quietly warm up. And then whilst I was doing that, I made gravy, because Angela had asked me to please show her how I made gravy. Well, you know, I gotta admit that I am a really strange person. No, that doesn't sound right. I'll rephrase it. My thinking must be really strange, because I sort of, somebody says to me, could you show me how you make gravy? And my eyes roll and you go, haven't you been making gravy all your life? And that's what my thought process is. And then I thought, there's nothing fancy about the way I make gravy. And then I realized, maybe there is. Not fancy, but maybe there is some way in which I make gravy that would make it easier for other people. So this is what blows my mind. Because I start, well, as a lot of you know, I always start my gravies with leftover wine or sherry or something that I've got, you know, hanging around. And I burn off the alcohol and just have the residual taste, which is just great in a gravy. And then I use Bisto, and that's B for Barry, I-S-T-O. And it's, you know, they make it in either poultry, you know, for turkey or chicken and stuff, or in beef type flavors. And what it is, it's really just pre-packaged gravy mix. And you just add water. I mean, how easy is that? Seriously. Now, a lot of people have been taught to make au jus, which is just the juice of the gravy coming out of the piece of meat. And normally with most of the fat taken off it. Very tasty. What I do is I make a Bisto gravy and add some au jus to it. And the reason for that is I like a thicker gravy. I like a gravy that has a bit of substance to it, rather than just very runny. That would be because once a week we really make potatoes too. You know what I mean? We have a good helping of potatoes. So, and there's nothing nicer in my life than potatoes and gravy. So I really thank you, Angela, because I would never have thought to do a video on gravy. And from the views that it got, obviously it was something that a lot of people did want to see. So thank you, sweetie. I really appreciate the suggestion. But whilst I was on a roll, I realized I also was cooking a spaghetti squash, and I guess something told me that maybe it would be an idea to do a video on that as well. And so what is a spaghetti squash? It's a vegetable that after it's cooked, you sort of scrape it out, scrape out the fibers, and the fibers look just sort of like spaghetti. And in my case, I actually mix it up with butter and nutmeg. But it's interesting because somebody wrote to me, and I can't remember who, and I apologize, but said that in their household they have it with pizza sauce and Parmesan cheese. In other words, they have it just like spaghetti. They use it as a vegetarian spaghetti. So everybody has a different way, I guess, and that is the important part about life. And I now realize that people enjoy the little cooking videos. Now, the other thing was that I refuse to do trial runs of any of the cooking things that I do. Because I don't think, in my case, you know, I would take out half the enjoyment. I rather like the experiment. And I have a new experiment which is in the computer but not yet up on video. I'll put it up next weekend. of another experiment that I did for dinner, where I saw a picture of something. I actually just, had typed into Google, what vegetables should I do with ham? Because sometimes you just want some inspiration. And the first thing that came up was this idea. And I went, that looks so cute. The kid in me really liked the look of the picture. Now, I promptly, sort of scanned roughly how they cooked it and went, okay, fine, slammed it down. And then proceeded to cook it my way. As is my way. And so, I've got to tell you something. It sure was tasty. And nobody more surprised than I was. I actually expected it to go totally wrong, and it didn't. It was totally tasty. And so, you can look forward to a new vegetable one for next weekend. And what I'm trying to do is to get some videos up on vegetables that are in season, because if you can get fresh vegetables in season, right, that's about as healthy as you can get. And the question is, how do you make them tasty enough that children want to eat them for some reason? And that is a challenge. So basically, it's been a great weekend. I've had a lot of... Dougie came to visit as well, for those of you who know Dougie. And he and I had very little time, actually, to talk to one another. Between him arriving slightly late and the broadcast, which went longer than normal. By the time I got off the broadcast, I really didn't feel like sitting up and talking for 3 hours, so I just said to him, I'm going to go to bed, and then I slept all the way through until 9 or something. And so we had a sort of brunch, which we do, it's our custom. We had a brunch and chatted after brunch for a while, but then he was gone. So it was a very quick visit, but I love it when he comes to visit, because he and I have the ability to sit and talk international affairs, and he always has very interesting observations about things. And one of the things he said to me, because obviously I asked him, because his family is still back in Kenya, I asked him whether there was any major concern back in Kenya about the Ebola. And he said, it's funny how many people don't know how wide Africa is, and that Ebola is sitting on the west coast and Kenya sits on the east coast. And that is fair enough. And I understand what he's getting at, but he said it really is quite shattering to him how many people, really don't have a sense of that. And then we got into quite a conversation about built-in obsolescence. And by that I mean products that are made to last not more than a couple of years. I don't know if you know, but most printers today have a little gizmo in it that will only let it print, let so many thousand copies. Once it's printed that many copies, this little gizmo goes clunk, and your printer will stop working, unless you have an override of that. And somebody I know did actually develop one. And I know that because I actually downloaded it once, and it worked. It overrode that clunk, and my printer carried on working. So That is built-in obsolescence, where things are not built to last a long time. I don't know if any of you know, the light bulb, the original light bulb that was invented, is still burning. Listen to me. The original light bulb is still turned on and burning. What happened was, when they built it, everybody thought it was very clever, but then they came back and said, you know, it burns too long. We'll never sell any more. We'll only ever sell one to everybody. So they sent the engineers back to redevelop it to not last as long. And guess what? They did that a couple of times until they got it down to about a year. That is built-in obsolescence. It is designed to fail after a certain length of time. And Dougie and I were talking about the fact that he and I both do not change our cars every 3 years to get the updated, newest model. And how we are judged for that. It's amazing how many people judge you if you drive an older car. Now, I've had my Jeep this Jeep, for, must be 15 years now. My previous car I had for 15 years. The car, inside and out, looks pretty darn new. You know, why would I change it? It has heated seats, leather, everything, all the bells and whistles. The only thing wrong with it at the moment is the clock appears to be an hour out because our clocks went back and I forgot to change the one in my car, which gave me a small heart attack when I got in it today. What the? Oh, yeah, we turned the clocks back. I thought I was an hour late for work. Yep. Never mind. So, I wonder how you guys feel about that. How many of you do not get caught up with that, I've got to have the latest model of whatever?